Chapter 1b The Last Fight. The sand was hot enough to cook meat. I knew because I'd actually done it once. Stole a sausage from a guard's lunch, pressed it against the arena floor during a match, let the blood and sun do the rest. The crowd booed for 10 minutes straight, called me disgusting, called me a lot of other things too. They never got it. The difference between spectacle and survival, I mean. To them, it was all performance. To me, it was a chance to have one more dinner. I was standing in that same arena now, 10 years older, watching the floating brass orbs broadcast everything to noble parlors across the city. I could picture them up there, in the upper terraces, lounging on silk cushions with their chilled wine, arguing about my kill-to-style ratio like it was something that mattered. "Place your bets," the arena master's voice bounced off the walls. "The cursed boy versus the red butcher. Odds are 4-1. Against me, obviously. They hadn't learned shit in the last decade. I rolled my shoulders and felt my ribs click. They healed wrong after a fight 2 years back. At 18, my body felt 50. My left knee locked up when it got cold. My fingers didn't quite straighten anymore. I couldn't remember what it felt like to wake up without something hurting. Terrible gladiator, really, but I kept winning, so there was that. The western gate groaned open and the red butcher walked out. Big guy, 6.5 feet, maybe more. His eyes had that glow to them, like embers that hadn't quite died. Enchantment work, probably. Probably mana fuel injections. Enhanced fighters put on good shows. They also tended to die spectacularly when the enchantment burned through their nervous systems. Good for business. I did some quick math. 6 minutes. Maybe less if he pushed hard. "Begin." The crowd roared. The butcher charged. I ran. Not towards him. Away, along the wall, keeping distance. The crowd went quiet, confused. "Coward!" someone screamed. Others joined in. The butcher came after me, those enhanced legs eating up the sand. I kept running, watching him over my shoulder. 360 seconds, I said, loud enough for him to hear. He swung. I wasn't there anymore. "That's how long you have. Enhancements burn through your system at a predictable rate. I can see the vein in your neck pulsing from here." He roared and charged again. I sidestepped. Let him blow past me. He skidded in the sand, turned, came back. 340. Stand still and fight. Nope. The crowd was throwing things now. The butcher swung that massive club overhead. I stepped back, exactly far enough. The club buried itself in sand. 320. Your pupils are dilating unevenly. That's the mana fuel hitting your brain. He swung horizontal. I ducked. "You're swinging slower already. Did you notice?" "Shut up!" He came at me in a fury. Wild swings, no pattern. I let him chase me in circles while I counted seconds. 280. Your right hand is shaking. The tremors start in the extremities. Eventually your heart. The butcher stopped, stood there, breathing like a bellows. The glow in his eyes was flickering now. "What are you?" he asked. "Patient." He screamed and charged one more time. Everything he had left. I stood there and waited. At the last second I stepped left. A quarter step. He stumbled past me. His legs weren't working right anymore. He went down on one knee. 240, but you won't need that long. I walked up behind him. He tried to swing, but his arms wouldn't cooperate. The tremors had spread everywhere. I climbed up his shoulders and put my hands around his throat. He couldn't fight back. All that power, and he couldn't peel my fingers off his neck. The borrowed strength had left nothing behind. 43 seconds. That's how long it took. The glow in his eyes flickered once, twice, 3 times, then it went out. I stood up, brushed sand off my knees. My hands were shaking. The crowd was quiet, the disgusted kind. I didn't care. I was alive. He wasn't. Refund! Someone screamed. The arena master's voice cut through. Winner, the cursed boy, as always. He didn't sound happy about it. 2 guards came out. The master wants to speak to you right now. The tunnels under the arena smelled like copper and old sweat. The master's office was smaller than I had expected. Just a desk, some chairs, a wall covered in betting charts. Sit, he said. I sat. How long have you been with us? 11 years, 4 months, 6 days. You count. I count everything. Do you know why I brought you? All those years ago, you said I had potential. I lied. You were cheap and expendable. I figured you would die in your first fight. Tax purposes. I didn't say anything. But you didn't die. You kept winning. He shook his head. And eventually I figured out what made you different. You didn't fight to win. You fight to not lose. What's the difference? Winners take risks. They give the crowd something to cheer about. He waved his hand at me. You're just relentless, efficient, boring. I'm alive. For now, he slid a piece of paper across the desk. A contract. The buyer's name. Cassius Black. Combat Exhibitions, Inc. My blood went cold. Combat Exhibitions didn't buy fighters. They bought bodies. Gladiators tossed into impossible matches so rich people could watch them die in creative ways. This is execution, I said. It's business. You've outlived your usefulness. Cassius pays well for a good death. No, that wasn't a request. The guards behind me moved closer. Here's how this works. You sign the contract and get a few more hours. Or you refuse. I have you killed right now and I sell your body to the medical college instead. I looked at the contract, looked at him, looked at the guards. I was fast. Fast enough to kill one of them, probably, maybe more. Then what? 200 guards in this building. No weapons, no plan. The math didn't work. When's the fight? I asked. He smiled. Tonight. 12-1 odds against you. Who am I fighting? Does it matter? You'll be dead either way. He had a point. And that is the end of the first 2 chapters, I believe. It goes chapter 1a, then chapter 1b, so I presume the next one will be the second chapter, third that I will be narrating, and I can begin it right away. So, chapter 2. Death is a good time to start negotiating with a demon. 1 hour to prepare. I sat in my cell counting breaths. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. A technique I taught myself. Slow the heart, conserve energy, think clearly when panic clawed at my throat. Death didn't scare me. I'd accepted that possibility at 8. The waste did. 11 years of fighting, surviving impossible odds. All to die because my owner found me boring. The logic offended me more than the betrayal. A young guard came, nervous, new hire. It's time you're fighting some war mage from the north. Killed 40 men in single combat. Enhanced? I don't think so, just good. Worse, enhanced fighters were predictable, skilled fighters adapted. Any rules? He laughed. It's an execution fight. Don't run away. At the gate he paused. For what it's worth, I've watched you fight. You're better than they say. Then why aren't they killing me? No answer. The gate opened. Sand still hot. Sun gone, but heat lingering, radiating up like the breath of something massive and dying. Larger crowd than usual. I suppose they'd advertised this one. Screeing orbs circled like Karen birds. My opponent emerged. Smaller than expected, 5'10", lean, light armor leaving his arms bare. Those arms were covered in geometric tattoos, casting arrays. His hands crackled with barely contained energy. Scholarly magic, brass path, careful calculation, precise casting, devastating power if given time. Interruption was key. Begin. Kalen raised his right hand, fingers dancing through a complex pattern. I ran, not towards him, but perpendicular, circling. Fire erupted where I'd been standing, precise, contained, exactly where he'd calculated. Smart, he'd studied my fights, knew I moved efficiently, took the shortest path. So I did the opposite. I zigzagged, random pattern, burning stamina I couldn't afford, but letting him complete a casting meant ash. Another pattern, lightning this time, faster, harder to dodge. I threw myself flat, the bolt passed overhead, close enough to make my hair stand on end. The crowd cheered. This was what they wanted. Drama, magic, death at high speed. I rolled, came up running. 30 meters, 20. Kalen raised both hands. Bigger spell, defensive barrier. I picked up a rock, fist-sized, threw it at his hands. It hit his left wrist mid-pattern. His fingers twitched. Geometry broke. Half-formed barrier collapsed. The backlash made him stumble. 10 meters. 5. He tried to raise his right hand. Too slow. I hit him in a full-body tackle. We rolled. He tried to knee me. Wrong angle. I got my hands around his throat. His eyes went wide. Mouth moved, trying to speak a verbal spell. I squeezed harder. He clawed at my face, drew blood against my cheek, my neck. His right hand came up, fingers making desperate patterns. Sparks danced across my arms, heat building about to ignite. I slammed his head into the sand. Once, twice, 3 times. The sparks died. Kalen went limp. 20 more seconds, just to be sure, then I stood. Arms burned red where the partial spell had touched. Welts already blistering, face bleeding, ribs aching. Alive. The crowd went silent. Then, from the upper stands, "Finally, he's dead." Cheering erupted. Not for me, for my death. Except I wasn't dead. Galen was. I looked up at the master's box, purple with rage. Guards were moving. I ran. Not towards the exit, they'd block that. Towards the stands, the thin section. My legs screamed, but I pushed harder. Stop him! A crossbow bolt whizzed past. I reached the wall, jumped, caught the lower edge, hauled myself up. More shouts, more bolts. One buried itself in my calf. I didn't stop. Scrambled over the barrier into the crowd. People scattered, screaming. I pushed through, leaving blood on their fine clothes. Another wall, vaulted it, fell hard. Something in my ankle gave way with a wet pop. Tried to stand, collapsed. Guards coming, I could hear their boots. This is it, I thought. 11 years, all for nothing. Vision graying at the edges. Blood loss, shock, probably internal injuries. The bolt in my calf pulsed pain with each heartbeat, each throb weaker than the last. A scurrying orb hovered above me, broadcasting my death to some noble's parlor. Finally, I muttered, a good show. Is it, though? The voice didn't arrive all at once. It leaked in, a pressure beneath my eyes, a presence that didn't sound loud but felt close, like someone leaning over my shoulder to comment while I bled out. So that's it. A pause, thoughtful, almost disappointed. You just lie there. I tried to laugh and coughed instead. Something wet bubbled up in my throat. Hallucination, that made sense. Poisoned bolt. Shock. The brain does strange things when it's starving for oxygen. I'm Dying, I managed. Yes, I know. Another pause, longer this time. I'm timing it. My vision pulsed. The stone floor felt cold beneath my cheek. Somewhere nearby, boots, shouting. The guards were reorganizing, slower now that the fight was over. Then, fuck off, I said. Not interested. I see. That's what disappoints me. A faint edge crept into the voice, like a critic tapping a pen. You fight your way through half the pit to ruin a perfectly good betting line, and when the ending comes, you don't even struggle. No drama. I squeezed my eyes shut. You're not real. If I weren't real, you'd already be dead. A beat. 70 seconds, by the way. You're bleeding internally. Lungs collapsing. Very messy. That got my attention. What are you? A solution, then, almost begrudgingly. Call me Malgrin. I watch interesting people. Occasionally I intervene when one of them is about to waste themselves. I'm not interesting. You fight like you're solving equations, he said, and there was a smile in the words. No flair, no rage, just numbers. That's rare, also depressing. My fingers twitched uselessly against the stone. Are you offering help? I asked. Or commentary? Both, ideally. The guards were closer now. I could hear leather, metal, and the scrape of a spearhead on stone. Say I believe you, I said. What's the angle? I keep you alive. Simple, almost casual. You keep being interesting, not self-interesting, not grow old in a shop interesting, blood interesting, choice interesting. When things go wrong, you don't look away. And if I'm boring, a pause, longer, you let it hang. Then I stop investing. Meaning? Meaning I eat what I gave you and move on. I laughed again. It hurt. Everything hurt. That's not a deal. That's a threat. All deals are threats, Malgrin said mildly. This one's just honest about it. What do you take? I asked. Souls? Years? My firstborn son? Gods, no. Too sentimental. He sounded almost offended. I take access, senses, little pieces of how you experience the world. Taste, touch, sometimes sound. Nothing you won't miss immediately. You're lying. Of course I am, he said cheerfully. You miss them, just not all the time. The guards rounded the corner. I could see their shadows stretch across the wall. How much? I asked. Depends on how hard you push me, Malgrin replied. You want cheap, you get sloppy power. You want control, precision, things that scale. What's the price for that? More. I swallowed blood. The math was already forming in my head, even as my vision dimmed. Option 1, die here, known outcome, 0 variance. Option 2, demon, unknown costs, high validity. But validity meant room to maneuver. How long do I live if I say no? 30, maybe 40 seconds. And if I say yes, you get up. Silence stretched between us. The guard shouted something. Orders, probably. I exhaled, slow, deliberate. Fine, I said, but this isn't charity. You don't get to hollow me out all at once. Negotiating, Malgrin said, pleased. Good, I was hoping you would. I want limits. You get intervals, he corrected. You'll feel less when you're safe, more when you're in danger. Fear, pain, adrenaline, that's when I give things back. So I only feel human when I'm about to die. Now you're getting it. The guards broke into a run. I closed my eyes. Deal. The pain didn't fade. It surged through me and changed color. Fire replaced blood. Electricity tore through my nerves. I screamed as something rewired me from the inside out. My eyes snapped open. The world sharpened until it hurt. I could see dust hanging in the air, sweat on the guard's brows, the micro-stutter of a man realizing he'd already lost. And underneath it all, heat, rhythm, the thud, thud of hearts around me, mapped in pulsing warmth. Blood sense, Malgrin said proudly. Ours, don't get attached. My body moved before I told it to. Not fast. Right. I slipped under the first spear, felt the wind of it graze my ribs, twisted through a gap that shouldn't have existed. Someone screamed behind me. I didn't look back. I ran on instinct alone, turns I'd never learned, doors I'd never seen, until cold air slammed into my face and I was outside, the arena looming behind me like a bad memory. I made it 3 streets before my legs gave out. I collapsed hard in an alley, shaking, gasping. The bolt was gone, not removed. It was erased. The wounds healed wrong, black thread pulsing under my skin. My arms were veined in darkness. Ah, yes, that. Malgrin sounded sheepish. A side effect, mostly cosmetic. What did you do to me? I whispered. Kept my end of the deal. And the cost? Try tasting something. I fumbled for my water flask, drank. Nothing. No coolness, no flavor, just weight. Panic flared. Temporary, Malgin said quickly. During fights, during terror, you'll feel everything. Isn't that better? You turned me into someone who only feels alive when it matters, he finished. You were halfway there already. I pressed my hands to my face. Black veins pulsed faintly. I want out. You want options, Malgrin corrected. And right now you have none. Don't worry, the ink will mostly fade out. Soon they will only be visible if you look hard enough. He wasn't wrong. The city would chew me up if I had no money, no allies, no future that didn't involve a blade. But I was breathing. That counted. What now? I asked. Hide, heal, don't die tonight. A pause. Tomorrow we figure out what kind of monster you're going to be. And that is the end of the second chapter. I hope you enjoyed the technically third attempt at narration, and as always, feedback is most appreciated. Have a good day.